Hey everybody, how you doing? This is about to be a really fun video. In this video, we are talking about 300 Win Mag. If you go to the channel, I have a video series on BOLOT drop. What that is I sight everything in at 100 yards. I know some of you guys out west like to sight things in at 200, 300 yards. I do everything at 100 yards, and then I know the drop and the dials for the specific loading. So I've got a video series going across as many cartridges as possible. Everything from 17 HMR all the way up to 50 BMG. We've done tons of them. What I realized, I haven't done that for 300 Win Mag. I just got a new 300 Win Mag. So I'm making this BOLOT drop video. One, for me, so when I need the data, I can just pull up this video and screenshot it, and I'll have my dope living on the interwebs. Piece of cake for me, but also for you, if you are a 300 Win Mag fan, and if you don't know how to do the calculations, or simply just like me, you want to have a free copy of it on the internet, you can look up at any time. That's what we're doing here today. And I'm going to show you across 5 different loadings. So if you don't have the exact ammo, one of yours is probably pretty close to this, and you'll have a very good starting point. Let's jump right into it. So, I am a fan of the Remington ammunitions. So, what I'm going to show you is 5 different Remington loadings today. And then I'm going to show you a drop chart. And we'll have all the data. I'll have all the data. You'll have all the data. If you want to know how I do this, I have a video called something like BOLOT drop for beginners. Actually, it's called long range for beginners. Type in WHOTEEWHO long range for beginners, and it'll pop right up, and I go into detail how I do this. But today we're going over 5 different Remington loads, and I'm going to start off slow explaining, then I'm going to go through it quick because you'll know what I'm talking about. The first one, Remington core-lokt tipped. For the 300 Win Mag, Remington loads at 180 grain BOLOT. You can see here on the chart, the BC is 0.481, BOLOT weight 180 grains, initial velocity 2980. Now, first column is the range, second is elevation. You'll see at 100 yards it's 0 because I sight everything in at 100 yards. And then that second column, a -3. At 200, that means at 200 yards, if you sighted that in at 100, it would drop 3 inches. So if you were target practicing or deer hunting, you would need to hold 3 inches high of where you want it to hit. That's what that means. So on and so forth, 300, 400 yards, all that going down. Now that's if you're wanting to just hold over, right? The third column is MOA elevation. If you have an MOA scope, at 200 yards, you would need to dial that baby to 1.4 and then hold dead on and send it. So on and so forth for MOA. At 500 yards, you need to dial that baby to 8.9-ish, 8.75 or just 9, whatever. And then same story goes for MILS. I tend to lean towards MILS if I have the choice. For 300 yards, dial it for 1 MILS, hold dead on, and send it. So on and so forth. And I have all this data for that 180 grain Remington core-lokt, almost 3,000 feet per second. You can use all those dials. You can notice that this round goes subsonic after 1,200 yards. Something to note. Now that was the 180 grain core-lokt tipped. Those tipped, they're good hunting rounds. We've used them in several videos, and I'm a fan of them. Tipped, higher BC, good for long range stuff, and we've got proof that they take some deers. Now I'm going to run through these next ones a lot more quickly, but you and I will then have the data, and it'll be good. So the next one is Remington core-lokt 300 Win Mag, 180 grain. So this is also a 180 grain, going about the same speed, lower BC of 0.383. Again, you can freeze all this if you're trying to compare a different load. and see which one's closest to yours. But this is 180 grain. You see it goes subsonic quicker in between 1,000 yards and 1,100 yards. And there's the same thing. The drop rate in inches, the dials for MOA and MILS. Yeah. There's the 180 grain core-lokt data on bullet drop. Now we've got the 150 grain Remington core-lokt for 300 Win Mag. It has a lower BC of 0.294, but it's going faster, almost 3,300 feet per second. Let's pop up the numbers right there. It goes subsonic after 800 yards. Notice up close, the lighter one doesn't drop as much. It drops 2.5 inches. And then we've got all our dials there for MOA and MILS. Now we got the data. What's the fourth one we're talking about? The fourth one is Remington Premier Siroccos, which I've had really good experience with those. High BC of a .507. It's a 180 grain going 2960 feet per second. So pop up all of the information right here, and we've got our drop. It stays supersonic till after 1,300 yards. Here is our drop elevation in MOA and MILS. We got our dials there. 300 Win Mag, generally speaking, is pretty good for doing long range stuff. I will make mention for people doing holdovers. If you got a standard 3 to 9x40 scope, you don't do the whole turrets thing. You set it in at 100 yards, it's going to drop 3 inches pretty much at 200. And then 300 yards, depending on the load, 10 to 12 inches. So 300 yards, you're holding over a foot. 200 yards, you're holding over 3 inches. Past 300 yards, I don't recommend you doing holdover methods. At that point, you're just guessing, and that's unethical in my mind. If you're going to do something past that far, you need to be specific and detailed and knowledgeable with what you're doing and using those MOA or MIL turrets if you're trying to do long range, especially if you're hunting. Now, if you're on steel, by all means, guess away as long as you're not being unsafe. But for hunting, got to have those dials. So there's all your information on those Siroccos. And then the fifth one we're going to talk about here is Remington's new Premier Long Range. They announced it last year, and it is now out. It's Remington's newest load, the Premier Long Range. They're loading it in several calibers. High BC of .596 in the 190 grain, so it's heavier and has a high BC. It's going to be good for long range, 2885 feet per second. Check this out. Stays supersonic past 1,500 yards. Ballistically speaking, this is probably my favorite from the list. I haven't hunted with those loads yet, but we're going to do our best to here this season. Heavier, 190 grain. There's your drop. Like I said, 3 inches at 200, a foot or so at 300, and then we've got our MOA and our MIL dials. But hey, appreciate you guys watching. Like I said, this is just as much for me to have the notes stored online, so I have my quick dials, I can look them up, as it is for you to have the same information. It's free, it didn't cost you nothing. And if you don't have one of these specific Remington loads, what you got in your bang bang bullet slinger, most assuredly something very close to one of these. But hey, appreciate y'all watching. Like I said, if 300 Win Mag isn't your jam, we've done this for almost everything that's out there. So definitely go check that out. Type in WHOTEEWHO, whatever your favorite is, 30-06, 308, 223. It's all online, and I've put this up there free for you guys to have access to. But hey, appreciate you guys watching. If there's anything I can help you out with, put it in the comments down below, and I will do my best to give you the best answer to the best of my knowledge and experience. But hey, truly appreciate you guys watching. Hope you're having a good day. Make sure you're subscribed and you're following us on WHOTEEWHO.com. Signed up for the newsletter. Giveaways going out for that baby all the time. But hey, appreciate y'all. We'll see you on the next one. WHOTEEWHO.